What's up guys, how's it going? Welcome to another video here on the channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about Catherine Cesnik's case that happened in 1969. And there is no official solution to this day. So without further ado, let's go to the video. Catherine Ann Cesnik was born on November 17, 1942, in the city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She was the eldest daughter of a couple, Joseph and Anna Cesnik, who had 3 more children besides her. Her grandparents were immigrants from Yugoslavia who immigrated to the United States in the late 19th century. She attended elementary school at St. Mary's School and high school at St. Augustine High School, both Catholic schools located in Lawrenceville, in one of the largest neighborhoods in the city of Pittsburgh. Catherine was considered a role model student by her colleagues and teachers. She was a Catholic valedictorian in high school, where she also served as senior class and studio council president. From a very young age, she was seen as a selfless person who always liked to help others. Upon graduation, Catherine began teaching at 2 schools. One was Western High School and the other was Archbishop Cook, both Catholic girls' schools. Her students described her as an excellent teacher, and that she had a unique way of teaching, where even subjects they found boring, Catherine could explain in a way that was fun and thus attracted the students' interest. Sister Kathy, as Catherine was known at school, was seen as a friend and even an older sister. It is said that she encouraged the girls to pursue their dreams and to always evolve as people. On November 7th, 1969, a Friday, Catherine left the apartment she shared with her friend Helen Russell Phillips, who also taught at one of the Catholic schools where Catherine taught. It was around 7 p.m. when Catherine left. She went to a mall called Edmondson Village to buy an engagement gift for her sister. According to her students who took class with her that same day, they said she was very happy with her sister's marriage and talked about it all the time. The distance from her apartment to the mall was about 3 kilometers, and she made the journey in just over 10 minutes. Once there, she left her car in the parking lot, went to a nearby bank where she cashed a check. After that, she bought her sister's gift and then got some bread at a bakery still inside the mall. She then put the groceries in her car and left the mall's parking lot. After that, Catherine was no longer seen. After a few hours, Helen Phillips, Catherine's friend who shared the apartment with her, got worried and decided to call Father Garrett Koob, who was good friends with them and taught religion at the same school as they did. It wasn't usual for Catherine to be late and not to tell if she would go somewhere else before returning to her apartment. Garrett was at home along with another priest and friend named Pete McKeon, who also taught at the same school as Catherine. As he answered the phone, he noticed Helen's concern about Catherine, who asked him all the time if he knew where she was. Garrett didn't know where Catherine was. So worried, he decided to go to Helen's apartment along with Father Pete. Once there, they talked to Helen for a while and then decided to call the police. A policeman went to the apartment to talk to them and gain some information. After that, he returned to the police station. The 3 then entered the apartment where they celebrated the Eucharist and said a mass. At 4 a.m., the 3 of them were still awake and Catherine hadn't returned. As they couldn't sleep, Garrett and Peter decided to go for a walk, while Helen stayed in the apartment in case Catherine showed up. The 2 walked for a few miles until they unexpectedly located Catherine's vehicle. The car had its doors unlocked, was full of mud, with a branch near the steering wheel, and the loaves she had bought were on the passenger seat. Father Garrett immediately despaired, as he knew it wasn't Catherine's who had left the car like that, as she didn't usually do that. The signs indicated that the car had passed through marshy terrain and that someone else had left the car there so that it could be found. On November 10th, 1969, 3 days after Catherine's disappearance, The police assembled a team of 35 police officers and a further 5 teams of sniffer dogs. They searched 14 blocks southwest of Baltimore. The searchers took almost a full day, and despite their efforts, no sign of Catherine was found. On November 13, 3 days after the search, a woman's body was found nearby by 2 hunters in an army training area in Fort Meade. The body was on the bank of a river, with one part in the water and the other out. At first, everyone thought it was Catherine, but the body belonged to Joyce Helen Malecki, a 20-year-old secretary who had been missing since November 11th. The circumstances of Joyce's disappearance were similar to Catherine's. She also went shopping, and after that, she was no longer seen, and her car was also found abandoned and unlocked. Since Joyce had disappeared just 4 days after Catherine, and the way the two disappeared were similar, the theory emerged that the person responsible for Joyce's abduction and death was the same person responsible for Catherine's abduction, and by now, everyone was expecting the worst. On January 3rd, 1970, almost 2 months after the disappearance, Catherine Cesnik's body was found by a hunter and his son in a dump in southwest Baltimore. She was lying on her back on the side of a hill, and her skull was sunk. An autopsy was performed by medical examiner Werner Spitz, who is well regarded in the United States, where he has also worked on the cases of President John F. Kennedy and activist leader Martin Luther King. The autopsy revealed that Catherine died of an intracerebral hemorrhage after a skull fracture caused by a blow to the left temple with a bruising object. A major investigation had started. The police were already investigating the case of Joyce Malecki, and now that they had located Catherine's body, they had more evidence. Many issues were raised, one of them being that Catherine's vehicle had not been abandoned in a location that could not be seen. On the contrary, he was abandoned in an area where everyone could see, and which was even close to the victim's apartment. And whoever the criminal was, he knew the Baltimore area very well. Everyone believed that the police were advancing their investigations, and that soon the culprit or culprists would be arrested. However, although they now have Catherine's body, they have not made much progress, and the crimes have remained unsolved. In 1995, 25 years after the crime, something unexpected happened that somehow helped in the puzzle that was the crime. Some students at the Archbishop's School where Catherine taught have denounced Fathers Joseph Masco and New Magnus for sexually assaulting and grooming of minors. These same students said that the teacher Catherine Cesnik was the only one who realized what was happening and went to one of them and asked if the priests were hurting her. When the response was positive, Catherine decided that she would go to the Archdiocese of Baltimore to file a formal complaint, but she was murdered first. One of the students also claimed that Father Joseph took her to a place of dense woods on November 9, 1969, 2 days after Catherine's disappearance. There, Father Joseph reportedly showed her the victim's body and said, "Have you seen what happens when you say bad things about others?" Even with the testimony of several students and witnesses who affirmed this fact, police declined to investigate further, claiming there was no physical evidence linking Fathers Joseph and Neil to the crime. Many believe that there is a cover-up to protect the priests, and as far as is known, that is really what it seems. The Archdiocese of Baltimore paid $500,000 in damages in a settlement with students who were abused by priests. In 2001, Father Merkel died of a stroke. His body was exhumed in 2016 by Baltimore police, who reopened the case. DNA samples were taken to cross with those found on Catherine's body, but they didn't match. The police spokesperson said this didn't exclude the priest from being involved in the crime, as it's believed that other people participated and he could be a mastermind. having no physical contact with the victim. In 2017, A.B. Kolb and Gemma Hoskins, former students of Catherine Cesnik, began a private investigation with the help of investigative journalist Tom Nugget. This investigation became a 7-episode series on Netflix called The Keepers, where they interviewed a variety of people related to the crime, from former students to police officers who worked on the case. In the series, in addition to investigating the kidnapping and death of Catherine, they also paid attention to Joyce Malecki, whose crime remains unsolved to this day. As far as we know, even with the similarities of the crimes involving the two, it is said that the person responsible for the death of Joyce is not the same for Catherine's. Despite various evidence added to the witness statements indicating that fathers Joseph and New were responsible for Catherine's death, officially the crime also remains unsolved to this day. Catherine Ann Cesnik, born on November 17, 1942, was considered a good and kind person by all who knew her. She had a great sense of justice, where she wanted to protect her students from men who were supposed to do the same, but did the opposite. Her life was taken when she was just 26 years old, and even with all the evidence pointing to who is responsible, the crime officially remains unsolved. Well folks, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching me this far. I'll leave my Instagram here in the description in case you want to follow me there. Best wishes, and I see you next time.